Shooting USA is fueled by Hornady.
For Horace Smith and Daniel Wesson, success would require perseverance. Their first company had failed. Their second try as Smith and Wesson was making money with small caliber revolvers. But it would be the big bore Model 3 that put the company on the map. But it wasn't the US map. The big order came from Russia, and that gives the Model 3 the nickname, the Russian. That's now one of history's guns. It is an innovative single-action revolver and the most important military sidearm of its era, not to mention a favorite of civilians in the day. This is the historic Smith and Wesson Model 3.
The Smith and Wesson number 3 is just a superb revolver. It was one of the finest revolvers and one of the most important revolvers of the 19th century.
But Gary's is not just any Model 3. His variant is called the Russian.
It was called the Russian model because they were adopted by the Russian government and sold by Smith and Wesson to the Russians. Now, the Russians weren't the only ones that used this. The US used a variant of the number 3 called the Schofield. The Japanese used it, the Turks used it. This gun was used all over the world. As a matter of fact, this particular gun was Argentine military.
Smith and Wesson introduced the Russian in 1870, and over 3 years sold more than 40,000 to the army of the Tsar. The Cossack on the left has his in the holster. So why are we showing this military firearm alongside a cowboy hat and spurs? The answer is that this Smith & Wesson was also widely carried by good guys and bad in America's Wild West. Second in popularity with 6 gunslingers only to the Colt single-action army.
The Smith & Wesson number 3 was used by everybody. It was used by civilians, used by cowboys, used by lawmen, used by bad guys. Supposedly Jesse James had one. There were lots and lots of Smith & Wessons. Smith & Wesson would have been number 2, there's no question about it.
The Model 3 hit the frontier a couple of years ahead of its Colt competitor. It was accurate, rugged, and reliable, with one very popular feature. The hinged frame and top brake action make unloading a snap.
And what it had going for it, that most of the guns at that time didn't, was simultaneous ejection. Had top brake ejection. You know, the Colt single action didn't have it, and a lot of the other military guns of the period didn't have it.
Break the gun open and a star extractor kicks all the spent brass out.
When we're done shooting this, you'll see all you had to do is open this latch and boom, out the case is flying, you're ready to load it up again.
A big time saver in the heat of battle, and so is the open cylinder when you load the Russian again.
You could load this a lot faster than you could load a single action, and of course, you had to load a single action through the loading gate, and then you had to poke each round out separately.
This innovative revolver was chambered in a powerful new round, far bigger than the .32 rimfire cartridge Smith & Wesson had used in its Model 2 revolver. This new black powder cartridge was centerfire, with nearly a 250-grain bullet. Smith & Wesson named it appropriately the 44 Russian.
The Smith & Wesson 44 Russian was a good stopper. It was a perfectly reliable defense load, no problem at all. And it turned out it was not only chambered in Smith & Wessons, but in Colts as well. Very, 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 very fine round. I still enjoy shooting it myself. It's one of my favorite loads.
One feature that distinguishes the Russian from other Model 3s is that spur you see on the trigger guard.
Which was by no means a new innovation at that time, but the Russians kind of wanted to include that in the gun, and I kind of like it. It gives you a place to rest your finger and gives you good support.
Just one more good thing about this revolver. Powerful in battle, reliable in a gunfight, accurate on the range.
It holds well, it points well. Really, really, really a fine gun.
A firearm that helped put Smith & Wesson on the 19th century map.
Smith & Wesson did pretty well with its number 1 and number 2, but when the number 3 came around, it really did the job. It helped make them the viable, vibrant, and important company that they are today.
Smith and Wesson continued to develop the top-break Model 3 in many variations, introducing a double-action version in the late 1800s. But the design that would surpass the Model 3 was the hand ejector with the tip-out cylinder and solid frame. That was the beginning of today's modern revolvers at the turn of the century.
The .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge easily outperforms all other .22 caliber cartridges in its class, producing .22-250 performance in an AR-15 platform. The .22 ARC is engineered to take full advantage of the most aerodynamic .22 caliber bullets. This means tighter groups, increased accuracy, and an exceptional shooting experience. .22 Advanced Rifle Cartridge from Hornady.
Thanks again for tuning into the Shooting USA YouTube channel. We hope you enjoyed the content. A couple of notes. Make sure you take advantage of SUSA15 at snapsafe.com. That's our discount code that saves you 15% on anything from SnapSafe, and that gets to be some big money when you start talking about modular safes and vault doors. Also, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our new content. As always, a like and a comment helps us with that algorithm.